Okay, and we're off. First of all, I want to welcome everybody and thank you all for coming tonight. This is such a cool venue and couldn't be a better place to do a shop and buy local business showcase. There's a couple of new faces tonight that I want to introduce to you tonight. First of all, Scott Hastings. I don't know where you're hiding, but stand up, wave, do something. Scott is the new town planner for New Gloucester. And the Development Corp has 2 new members since the last time we all met. We have Nicole Stevens, who's probably hiding someplace, and Karen Gillis, who joined us this year. This event certainly could not be possible without this venue and the generosity of Misty Coolidge for welcoming us here, and I want to give her an opportunity to say a few words. Thank you. 2 minutes, I got it.
Oh, geez. Well, hi everybody. Welcome to Coolidge Family Farm. I told her I'd be, or it might be like 3 minutes, but I'll try to keep it short. I have it written down. So, as you may be aware, this is primarily a wedding venue, but I also host other celebrations, dinner parties, networking events, and I have some companies coming and doing Christmas company gatherings, Christmas parties. So if anybody's interested, please let me know. I'm definitely no stranger to this industry. My mom owned a bridal shop growing up, so I've been dealing with brides since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, as my grandmother would say. I've been a notary for 15 years, marrying couples. When I moved to Portland from Skowhegan, where I'm originally from, Scow Vegas, I worked for a caterer for a while, decided I hated catering, learned how to bartend. I started coordinating weddings. 8 years ago, I started a mobile bar business for weddings called Maine Mixologist. We do about 75 to 90 weddings a year, all over the state. So I've worked at all these other venues all over, and I love it. 4 years ago, I decided to give up my job as a real estate paralegal for Dead River Company and start this. Venue is my dream, and this is my passion, and my brides that I work with annually can feel that in my vision and my voice, and I really try to make their experience really personable. I'm probably one of the most inexpensive barn venues in the state. I know a lot of them are kind of expensive, but that's not why I did this. I did this because when I got married, I couldn't afford a barn venue, so I want everybody in the state to be able to do that if they want to. So I try to work with people's budgets a lot. I am booked for 18. I have venues, I have weddings April through December, so I literally live here 5 days a week. I installed heat before I got done Dead River using my employee discount. I am half booked for 19, and I just booked my first 2020 wedding. So, people ask me all the time about the growth in the wedding barn industry, especially in the area. As you all know, Gray and New Gloucester have many barn venues. And I definitely don't feel like there's a competitive edge. We all offer something very different. We all have different prices, different services, and different things we offer. So I definitely don't think there's a competition. All of us venue owners belong to the Maine Wedding Venue Cooperative, which is quite a mouthful, but we're all friends. I personally refer a lot of the barn venues in the area, Shady Lane, Caswell's, all those, and then we have a new one, Cunningham Farm on Intervale Road, that's just opened, and I met Abby a few weeks ago. I went and toured her place, so she's a sweetie. I'm excited about the growth in the wedding business here in Gray, New Gloucester, and I'm honored to be a part of it. After I bought this place a couple years ago, I expanded and bought the house next door. So I renovated that, and that's an addition to this. A few months ago, I finally closed on Ann McCormick's place across the street, so I actually live on Peacock Hill right across the way, and I'm working on restoring that farmhouse. And then in November, I bought, which many of you may know, the chapel that used to be an antique shop in Gray, diagonal from Duncan. I bought that in November, so I'm restoring that right now to be a beautiful wedding venue. So I think that church is adorable, and I really love it. And I was actually there for a couple hours today working with contractors. So that's in the works for being open for 2018. I have 3 little ones at home. I have 2.5-year-old twins, and I have a 6-month-old. So I'm a very busy person, but I love every bit of what I do, and I look forward to hopefully becoming more involved in the New Gloucester and Gray area and the towns, and hopefully you'll see my face a lot. So welcome, and if you need anything at Coolidge Family Farm, I'm here for you. So.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, in addition to Misty, Jess and Nix gave us such a deal on the food, so I want to thank Wayne and the crew over there for getting this together and doing some off-premise catering. Shipyard, Sea Dog, Norumbega, Baxter, adult beverages. Thank you very, very much. Misty mentioned Caswell Farm, which is a wedding venue in Gray, and Catherine Caswell is the proprietor of that, as she is the proprietor of the Bar Association. So they are all but volunteering almost here tonight for us to run the bar, so thank you to them. And both the Gray and New Gloucester development committees and the town planners, because you guys were the inspiration for the idea of doing a shop local, buy local, showcase local. So thank you for your ideas and for promoting this for us and for being here tonight. And last but not least, the Development Corp. There's 5 of us. We're all volunteers. And thank you all for putting up with my OCD as we do these events. Kristen Browski, Karen Gillis, Cody Humphrey, I don't know if he's actually here tonight yet, John Shekel, and Nicole Stevens. So thank you to the Development Corp. Before I give you an update on what the Dev Corp has been up to, we are going to hear from Roger Derry from the Gray CEDC, who was part of the inspiration for tonight with his own Shop Local campaign.
First, really?
That's why I mentioned your name. And I'll even be Carol Merrill and hold the poster for you. Nobody here is old enough to know who she is, but that's okay.
Trust me, I will keep this to 3 minutes. Okay, so we started the Shop Local, I will say, discovery part of it last year. We were going to maybe try and push something through earlier, but during the research, what they said mainly is that a lot of Shop Local campaigns fail because they start off too hot and heavy and they don't have the groundwork there. They don't have a good foundation started. So we put it off and we've been building slowly. On May 10th, we had our first introduction about it. We have 3 main things we're focusing on: our short range, mid range, and long range goal. Our short range was to get a decal, and we'll be distributing this out to businesses, and we'll also do some interviews with the businesses we go to see if they want them, if they're comfortable having them on their windows, or if not, and if they're on our website. So we want to get awareness out there also with the decals, with our signs in town, and if businesses want to put something up about being local on their own signs or on their doorways, anything to increase awareness about the benefits of shopping local. So our mid-range goal is to get at least 20% of those businesses that aren't currently on the business directory online. And then our long-range goal is to always sustain the campaign. No matter who's on the committee, we're just going to pass the information along, say here's what worked, here's what didn't, let's keep it going, let's grow the town. The greatest thing I found out, though, in all the research I did, is there isn't one example of a Shop Local campaign that didn't produce good results for the town. The only thing that went wrong is the campaign itself fizzled out. So it's best to start off slow. That's what we're doing. We want to be strong with it. We want to make sure the information is there to the businesses and the consumers. It's a two-way street, 2 ways of communication between the businesses and the consumers. And just to be playful with everything they do. As far as this year, November is Shop Local Month, and that was voted on back in February by Governor LePage and the Congress. I think it was 129th Congress, the state of Maine. And so November 1st starts off our Buy Local month. And then we have Shop Local Saturday, which is on November 25th. So we'll be increasing awareness through newsletters, the town newsletter, also stopping in at businesses, and just to keep the word out there, just to get it going. And then we'll take a brief survey at the transfer station after Christmas. I'll be out there helping people bring in all the wrapping paper and just ask them, do you know that Gray has a Shop Local campaign that's starting off? Yes or no? And if they say no, well, then they do know because I just asked them. And if they say yes, then great. So it is going to be a fun ride. I hope really to help out the town and get businesses and the townspeople to really increase that relationship with each other, because it does make it special when you can go into a store, you know the people, they know you. Hey, how's it going? How's everything? Makes it more of a family. So that's it. If there are any questions, glad to answer them. Otherwise, thank you very much. Thank you for letting us have this here. This is wonderful.
Okay, and now we are going to hear from Scott Hastings from New Gloucester, because we all need to get to know him a little better. Little baptism by fire.
So, hello. As you all now know, I am Scott Hastings. I'm the new town planner in New Gloucester, which means I also do a lot of the economic development work there and staff our economic development committee. Committee has also had a lot of turnover recently, so we've got a fresh blood on ready to go, get things done. Do want to make sure everyone knows we are going to put together a business survey for businesses in town in the next month or so that we're going to hoping to get everyone's opinion on what we can as a town can do to help all of you get things done and succeed here in town. And feel free to reach out with me anytime if you have any questions with working here in town and anything we can do to help. Thank you.
Okay, before we get to our speakers, I just want to go over a couple of GNGDC announcements because they're important. Grow GNG 2018 is underway. As you all know, we had a business competition last year, and both of the businesses, first place business that got the $10,000 forgivable loan and all the goodies, and the first runner-up are both represented here tonight. Empower Chiropractic and Acupuncture, Travis and Lauren. And Local Centric, Tom and Jen are somewhere in here. They opened a store on Brown Street in Gray. The RFPs are out for businesses this year who want to, or prospective businesses that want to enter the competition. The first round deadline for the first submission is November 1st. It's a pretty simple one-page, what's your business idea? You know, why are you doing this? Do you qualify? You know, is it going to be in Gray, et cetera? And then the second and third submissions are in the coming months, and it'll be judged in February. So if anybody here knows anybody who might be a candidate, please let them know, because Travis actually found out because his dad read about it somewhere while he was away at school and decided to enter and is here now, which is awesome. Anybody has any questions about it? We're around for the rest of the night, so we're here to answer them. We also have the latest version of the GNG Local magazine, which is in the little goodie bags that are hanging conveniently on the hooks in the back of the room. So before you leave, make sure you grab one. The magazine is a huge piece of our fundraising every year because the ad revenue pays for the production of the magazine, and usually we have some money left over to throw into the kitty for the business competition, which is what we do. We raise money and then we give it away. So there's on our table in the back, there are applications or ad order forms. And right now we've contracted with somebody outside to actually handle the magazine for us because we are volunteers and there's only 5 or 6 of us, and she does it much better. Her name is Tony Keith, and she's with Purple Crayon. So anybody who takes ads tonight or commits to them tonight will get a 20% discount. The next issue will come out in time for the summer season. And Tony will be our agent for this. So if you don't see one of our names, that would be why. We are looking at a new fundraiser, which is why we wanted to find somebody else to handle the magazine. And that will be a brew fest someplace in Gray or New Gloucester, location to be determined. The date that we have after looking at every other of the million brew fests that are happening in the state is tentatively set for the weekend after Father's Day. Not sure whether it'll be Saturday or Sunday, but we will be looking for local businesses to be financial sponsors. And we may be looking for local businesses who have adult beverages to participate. But details will follow, and I just wanted everybody to have an idea of what was going on. And I feel like we're always asking for money one way or the other, but if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have the coffers filled, and we wouldn't be able to give money to businesses when we do these competitions, which we plan to do every year. Right now, we have, the way things are working out for us, we can afford to award, try saying that 3 times fast, one $10,000 forgivable loan a year. Our ultimate goal is to be able to do 2 of them and designate that one business needs to open in Gray and one needs to open in New Gloucester. Last year we kind of got lucky because Empower, opened in New Gloucester, and Jen and Tom decided to go forward and open in Gray, and we did everything we could to help them with some in-kind stuff, but not nearly as much as the first place winner got. So having 20,000 would let us do a business in each town. So that's why we need you to donate money whenever we ask you to. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. With the Shop Local theme that we came up with, thanks to the 2 towns, the first thing that we thought of was, oh my God, Freddie Forsley, Shipyard, let's call him. So we did. And Freddie's out of town, but he sent 2 emissaries on his behalf, Adam Moses and Dale Carrier. And the other first thought that I had was this awesome program that was started a few years ago called Bowie Local. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but it's essentially a gift card, and businesses participate as merchants, and you can buy these gift cards, and you then can use these gift cards at any of the merchants listed. And there's Portland area, there's Bangor area, and one of the founders is a gentleman named Kai Smith, and he's also here tonight to talk about how that program got off the ground and a lot of statistics about why it's so important to shop and buy locally. Good for Kai and his partner. They sold Bowie Local to Bangor Savings, who was kind enough to donate a $50 Bowie Local card for the Portland area. So Karen's been going around begging for money, but one of you will get that $50 gift card so that you can go and buy local. So, first up, and I hear they do an awesome tag team, is Adam Moses and Dale Carrier from Shipyard and Sea Dog Brewing, respectively.
Thank you, Tracy. I'm Adam. This is Dale. I'm a marketing coordinator, exporting manager, and the community outreach manager for Shipyard Brewing Company. Dale here is the general manager of Sea Dog Brewing Company, and we're here on behalf of Fred Forsley. For those of you who don't know who Fred Forsley is, he's actually a Gray, New Gloucester native. He was a Cheverus High School grad, and then he went on to Arizona State, and then graduated from UNH with a business degree, and then became Maine's youngest real estate broker at the age of 19. From there, Fred went on to discover a failing real estate venture in Kennebunkport, Maine, which is now the renowned Federal Jack's brew pub and restaurant. And he has built this empire, which is now Shipyard Brewing Company, Sea Dog Brewing Company. It includes 10 pubs right here in the state of Maine, 3 pubs in Florida, 2 pubs in New Hampshire, and it's become a pretty amazing feat for somebody who grew up here in this town. So that's why we're here on behalf of him. Fred's crazy busy. He travels all over, continuing to try to, build Shipyard Brewing Company, build Sea Dog Brewing Company, and support the state of Maine in many ways. So instead of standing up here and kind of giving you my experiences with Fred, I've helped him open a couple different businesses, helped some of his partners open a couple businesses. I'm going to give you kind of the Fred Forsley story, which I kind of have already started to begin. In Fred's earlier years as a real estate broker, Fred found a decent amount of success, obviously, finding the Federal Jack's location. He, one of the points that he wanted me to make tonight was not, I guess it was, as a real estate guy. He was out making connections, I'm going to read off of this, I'm sorry. I was trying not to, but I'm a little nervous. So in his early years as a real estate broker, Fred found a decent amount of success. For those of you who know the real estate business, it's not necessarily, this is what I was trying to say, it's not necessarily about just the hard work and persistence, it's about who you know. And if there's one thing that Fred's good at, it's knowing people. He has a knack for networking, and he quickly became known amongst his peers, even at that young age, as a deal maker and a matchmaker. It's how he ended up getting into the hospitality business in general, finding that Federal Jack's place. It was basically knowing the right people who could help him turn garbage into gold, which is what Federal Jack's was originally. Somewhere around 1990, 91 is when Federal Jack's was first found by Fred, and the vision of that property bloomed into what it currently is today, and the birthplace of Shipyard Brewing Company. He drew up plans for the site, called his friends, families for opinions, and financial advisors, and researched everything he possibly could to develop a business plan that he would propose to his then partner, to a partner that he was introduced to through his networking, Alan Pugsley. For those of you who don't know who Alan Pugsley is, he is the master brewer of Shipyard Brewing Company, co-founder, and came over from England from what is now the Marston's Company, but Ringwood Brewery, which is a major brewing company in the UK that we have great relationships with. After he proposed his plan to Alan bought. He was 100% in, and the two of them basically made this dream become reality. So that was the kind of second lesson that he wanted me to push across was the business plan. Coming in with a solid business plan and making sure that the connections that you're making and the people that you're talking to are aware of what your dreams are and how you're going to make them become reality. The second lesson, I guess, would be finance. Obviously, we all know that money doesn't grow on trees like apples. You can't just pull it out of a river. But if you have your business plan put together, you have your key people, you can propose it to a bank and find the financing that you need. Fred was a little bit luckier than we are today because back then it was a lot easier for you to get credit cards with big, huge limits. And Fred liked to play this little dance called the credit card shuffle. At one point in time, he had over 15 different credit cards going with over $250,000 worth of debt. Pretty wild. As soon as he paid one off, he would either go to get another one or he would max that one out or he'd do both. So part of that in taking that risk is making sure that your own drive, your own desire, it matches the reward. So again, the importance of having that business plan, the importance of networking, having key people, and then knowing that your dream is going to become reality because you're going to make it become reality is a huge piece of making it all come together. The third lesson from him was building your own business, building the business. This is part of that whole, local, working with your local municipality, working with the states. Make sure that you know what you're trying to do. Make sure you know the licenses that you need, the permits that you need. Make sure you know who your town's planning board and everything. Get all your ducks in a row to make sure that you know how you're going to execute this plan, because there's a lot of things that can slow things down, cost more money, and take away from your original opening date or launch of whatever product that you're trying to do. And the longer that you're waiting, the more money you're going to spend, and the less likely that you're going to be starting to make back that debt that you've accrued from trying to open this venture. Second to last, and most difficult, and Dale will touch upon this more, I'm sure, part of building a business is staffing it. The state of Maine is is only 1.3, 1.4 million people, and the amount of people that we have to pick from to be able to run a business is slim. So he said that all of the businesses that he's done, and mind you, that Shipyard and all of its sister companies now is over 900 main employees, which is pretty darn special. So it's finding those the right people to be able to execute your business plan, what your dreams are, and then the last lesson that he wanted to push across was holding on to them, the importance to respect your employees, to keep them, to provide them with the benefits and the needs that they have so that they can go out into the community and preach your product and preach the same lessons that you've taught them. Kind of switching focuses, which I'm sure that Dale's going to touch upon as well too, is the importance of what this is all about is buying local and supporting your own community. Every single time there's a statistic out there for every job or for every business that you open. Sorry, I have to look at that again. I could do this over and over again and continue to fumble my words. For every job, there's 2.7 jobs that are created. And what that kind of means is if I start a business and I hire, I'm going to have to hire, a construction worker, I'm going to have to hire, electrician, and if that electrician keeps getting work from our referrals, he's going to have to hire more people. And then for every staff member that I hire, that person's going to continue to make money, and they're going to go out and they're going to supply other businesses with the funds that they need to continue to open their business. So the more that we can support each other, shopping locally, buying locally, hiring more employees so that other people can hire more employees, talking about the other businesses that are within our own towns and with our own state, with our own people, the more that we can continue to grow our own municipalities and our state's business. And that's kind of all I got to say.
That's everything I was going to say, so thanks, Adam.
Adam's right. We employ 900 plus people in the state of Maine. Those 900 people making salaries, the money is staying in the state. We have always been a proponent of buying local, whether it's produce, meat, cheese, hops for the beer. Everything we try to do, because we want the locals buying our beer as well, or our food, we try to instill that on our employees as well. And I think we succeed a little bit. And going back to Adam's point of, you surround yourself with the employees, but right now our biggest challenge is finding the employees. The unemployment rate right now is 3%. We're challenged with finding people to man our restaurants, man the breweries, man the other businesses that we have. The South Portland restaurant employs 74 people. That's a lot of people. I'm going to go back to my notes. But again, part of it was the challenge of starting a business. It's easy for me to say because I get to play with Fred's money when opening a business. But the challenges I see again are, the cost of goods, transportation costs, wages. All this eats into whatever profitability that a small business in Maine has. I'm losing train of thought.
It's my fault.
It's his fault. Where am I? Yeah, and I think that's it. So again, I think our biggest thing is what he does with the buy local or buoy local, what we try to do with buying local, just ensures that Mainers will be sustainable and be able to survive. That's it. That's our message.
Thank you. You did. Okay, just a little small world story. Okay, Dale lives around the corner from John and I in Gray Park, and we didn't know that until after we reached out to Freddie to get him. It gets better, okay? Kai Smith, co-founder of Bowie Local, got married here at the barn. It's a very small world, small. So anyway, Kai is one of the co-founders of Bowie Local, which successfully has been purchased by Bangor. And Kai is kind of a numbers guy and is going to talk about what the real statistical number benefits are to the community of shopping local, and tell you a little bit more about Bowie Local in the hopes that you'll buy those raffle tickets from Karen.
Do I need a mic? Yes? Mic, okay. All right. I'll put the beer down. We'll do this. I've got my notes here also. Tracy was right. I'm one half of Bowie Local. Sean Sullivan, who these guys probably know, is the other half. He works for the Maine Brewers Guild and does this stuff all the time. So I've got some notes here. I'm going to go through the data and the statistics afterward because I think for one it's pretty critical to have kind of data when you're thinking about buying local and what it can do for the community. But it's pretty startling the impacts that it can have. So I'll save that for later. And I will just go through my story. I grew up in Portland. Lived there my whole life, met my wife there, met her at a bar, went to USM, graduated there from the business school there, and really kind of like this was in the recessionary time. I was figuring things out. I was doing a lot of internships, but as sort of younger people may understand, it was a difficult time to find a job. So unlike today where, you've got people applying to do everything, different time back in 2008. So had this idea. I met Sean through a networking event, just a natural public speaker, could kind of do all the things that I was not very good at, so teamed up with him. And what we did was we decided to adopt a technology that had kind of been circulating in various communities. So Boulder, Colorado had a gift card. Some smaller towns, smaller cities like Boise, Idaho had a gift card. And just coming from Portland, I really thought, why can't we have a gift card? We have all these local businesses. And as it turns out, we have more local businesses in the greater Portland area than anywhere else in the country. So we just thought it was a natural thing. We started with like 5 to 10 prominent local businesses. As in your community, there's a couple businesses that are kind of the anchors, if you want to call it that. So for us, that was Coffee by Design, Longfellow Books. There's numerous awesome local businesses in Portland, but we started with Coffee by Design, Longfellow Books, Salvage Barbecue, because you got to have barbecue and beers. And Sean brought in some amazing breweries as well. We had Rising Tide, Shipyard signed up, and it took off. We sold $200,000. We sold $30,000 worth of gift cards in our first month, which was November of 2013. And we set up a small table at the bookstore at Longfellow Books, sold them out of there. So Christmas was just this huge, if you think about gift cards, it's synonymous with Christmas. So we had a really strong opening, and then over the next year and a half, we sold about $200,000 of gift cards. We returned $100,000 back to the community. So there's this very quantifiable aspect to what we were trying to do. But it's also fun. Gift cards are sort of generic and kind of like the last thing you want to get, but this was really mission-driven and fun at the same time. So it really clicked with Portland, and I'll get into how we met Bangor Savings later, but you guys probably want to know about the technology behind it, because it has expanded to Rockland and to Bangor, and obviously there's a good cohort of businesses here that could obviously benefit. So Very simply, what we define it as is one gift card for hundreds of local businesses. So it's essentially like your everyday gift card, except for you can spend a little bit at each business. From the technology side, it runs like a credit card. It's very simple to use from the merchant's perspective. You don't have to have some special button or point of sale software, voodoo things going on. It's just like you press credit, you run it, and it works just like with your traditional credit card system. Whenever you batch out, you get the funds immediately. So it's very simple from the merchant perspective. And then from the consumer perspective, it's a running balance. They never expire. And what's great is that Bangor Savings is going to be adding a lot more different sort of components to this program as well. So it's going to be growing across Maine and hopefully generating millions of dollars for local businesses. Let's see, what else do I have here? Excuse me, I'm just reading my notes here. So I think from one perspective that I have here is it can be hard for buy local groups to sort of figure out how to run these systems because there's often like a ledger program or something that would make it difficult for a economic development corporation to run, but the technology, as I said, is really simple to use. So I think that's obviously a benefit. One thing that we did was we had the stores sell the cards. So as opposed to us having like a picnic table where we're selling these cards, we had the stores sell them for us. So that way, we didn't have to be 24/7 on our feet, selling the cards. So Longfellow Books sold they sold probably 3 out of 4 cards for us. So, again, when you get the anchor in the community, anchor businesses, they can really sort of help out in that respect in terms of getting foot traffic to the local businesses. So, yeah, what else can I say about it? Let's see. Yeah, so I've touched on the technology. Sometimes there's questions about what quantifies local, or what how do you define local, what is that? And, if you're thinking about Coffee by Design, for example, they have seven different locations, but we would still think of them as a local business. But there's a lot of organizations out there. There's one called Amoeba, which is the American Independent Business Alliance. They do, buy local campaigns. They're a nonprofit. We came at it from sort of a for-profit perspective. But they have very strict definitions on what defines local. So if you're sort of figuring out, am I a local business, the American Independent Business Alliance would be your sort of, your go-to organization. So how am I doing on time? Okay. Let's see. So I guess let's just get into some of the statistics, because it's pretty amazing. This was a study done by Sean, my business partner. Sean went to Bowdoin College, and this was a study done by Bowdoin 3 years ago. But I'll just read you some of these statistics. It says, so for every $100 spent at a locally owned business, $58 stays in the community, as opposed to around $30 if it's spent at a chain. So what we're talking about there is this multiplier effect, and the city planner, Scott, can probably speak to this more, but there's just this massive multiplier effect, in terms of taxes and revenue that goes back to school. The more money that we can keep in the community, the better it's going to be for everybody. I mean, it kind of goes without saying that, but if you're shopping on Amazon or you're shopping on deals.com or whatever, your money's going out the window. It's going to Seattle, which is where Amazon is headquartered, and it's not staying here, and it's not benefiting the people, and it's not creating community. So that's really important. The study cited that if there was just a 10% shift in consumer retail spending locally, it would generate $127 million in economic activity in Cumberland County in a year. So, and generate 874 new jobs. So, you know, it's a pretty substantial thing. And I think the last thing that I'll end on basically is that, you know, if you think about all the money that's circulating now around like the stock market, and everything's going up and up and up and up, and it's benefiting, you know, a few major corporations, but local businesses, you know, they provide half the jobs in our country, it's a fact, and they receive 1% of all of the investment. So, you know, we can do more to invest, to buy local, and talk to Bangor Savings Bank because they're now running the program for us. So, thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you.
So much. Okay, so we can either have a little panel with our three guests up here if you guys want to ask questions in a more formal format, or we can all resume activities at the bar and mingle. So it's your call. Do you guys have questions for them? I knew you would.
So I have kids younger than people in this room, and you and a husband who loves the internet and shopping, and I'm on the shop local committee.
We come up here.
How do you fight against an Amazon? Oh, it's cheaper. I can get it like half the price. How do you fight that monster? It's getting worse.
Okay. It's so what I think about is you're referencing your husband basically.
And kids, but it's a generational thing. They don't want to get out of their house, their car. They just want to shop online and be done.
Right. The easiest answer for that is it has to be a conscious decision. It has to be, I'm going to go out to the bookstore and buy my book at not Amazon, at wherever, you know, because that's really the only way you can do it. And the other side of that is education. So if you're educating people on the importance of buying local, which is why the American Independent Business Alliance and Gary, I think, is it Gary? I'm great with names, see, obviously. But these campaigns, yeah, that was way off, are, you know, vitally important to educating people on the importance of buying local. Amazon is a powerhouse. They've just bought Whole Foods. They're going to have more retail locations now. It's really a David versus Goliath type of thing, but the local stuff is catching on, I think. You know, I think Bangor Savings Bank is going to be a really good, you know, it's just catching on. For a bank like that, you know, a local bank to support something like what we did, I think is meaningful. So, but the conscious thing is really important, just consciously deciding to go buy beer at Shipyard instead of a Bud Light. You know, it's just the way that it's got to be. And
You pretty much covered it right there, but I would just say, as on that conscious point, you know, depending on what your means are, you know, pick and choose what you can spend and where you're going to spend it. And again, on the education piece, make sure that you're educating your children and your family about the importance of shopping local. You know, and back to, you know, knowing what you can spend and divvying it out in that way. You know, maybe even look at your local communities and see where those dollars will most benefit your municipality or even the state, and then choosing where you're buying through educating yourself.
Kai mentioned a 10% shift, so maybe that's the compromise. You know, there's things where John and I have spent more money on the local economy buying gas, looking for things that we can't find here. So then after we do that and eat someplace and feed the local economy that way, we go to Amazon. But if you consciously make a commitment to just shift 10% of what you're buying, that would accomplish so much.
And it's education.
Well, and I'll speak to my college-age child, a little older than yours. They're very cause-driven now. So if you can make that connection, they're more apt to do something local because they want to help a cause. They want to help the environment. They want to help whatever your local economy is supporting, Libby Hill Trails or something like that. If you can tie it to that, I think for that generation, that's how my daughter shops now. She doesn't want to help the big bad corporations. She's looking for that local piece. So.
Just if I could just sort of take off on Tracy's point, is that there's sort of the issue of demand, and using your dollars locally, but it's also, the supply of what's available locally. And it seems to me that, it would be great if there were a vehicle to help local investors, local residents invest in local businesses. And I mean, my husband and I have been wanting to do that for some time now, but we're not, we're not business people. We're not really, we would want to engage somebody else to help us with that. But if there were somebody who could help us figure out, well, this business, if it could, if there were a bunch of local investors who could stake them the 50 to 100 grand or whatever they need to get on their feet. I mean, I was at the Grow Smart Maine conference today, and there was they were talking about how there's this they called the silver tsunami of aging baby boomers who have businesses and are wanting to retire and don't have a succession plan. And so, and there's millennials who may want to buy those businesses but don't have the capital. So if there could be some sort of intermediary to help sort of make those things happen. The one example there was a speaker from Blue Hill. She was a 30-year-old who had worked in this bookstore in Blue Hill for several years. The bookstore had been in Blue Hill for like 30 years. The owners wanted to retire, and she was able to come up with some preliminary financing to buy the inventory. But she needed working capital, and so she sold like CSAs, almost like it was a CSA model for $500 or $1,000. Full share would be $1,000, and she thought, she sold like 10 of these, she'd be in pig heaven. She sold over 200,000. She sold over 200 of them. So I don't know whether what percentage were $500 or $1,000, but I mean. That was a great model, and it kept a local business that people loved in the community and ensured the next generation of ownership. So I mean, it would be great to have those kinds of models available locally as well.
They pre-purchased book orders from her, so like, as a restaurant, it's like a credit. I think that's how she financed it. There are some organizations that are doing the investing in local businesses. Slow Money Maine, they're actually one of the biggest chapters in the country. They do financing for small local food businesses, and then CEI. I don't know, obviously you're probably familiar, but yeah, I mean, there needs to be a financing vehicle beyond gift cards for local businesses. I would agree with that.
If I could just say something, kind of a bring back to what Tracy said too. Like, I don't know, it's I think our second year of doing the Grow GNG challenge, but maybe becoming familiar with it and seeing if that's something you might be interested in being involved in, because we do take like in-kind donations and stuff for that. So for folks within our community that are interested in donating to businesses that are going to stay within this community, it's a good opportunity to maybe get back or give back to
Thank you all. Thank you so much.